welcome to another Rum Soaked Pirate tutorial. I am the Rum Soaked Pirate, and today we will be creating something in Maya. Maya, if you do not know, is a program that's used to create 3D models, animations, renderings, scenes, right? It's worldwide used by a lot of companies, especially companies like Disney, Marvel, Universal. They usually depend on programs like this to create their magic. So let's dig in first. I'm going to click on my Maya. I am working on Mac. If you get confused, sometimes I say left click and right click. The reason being is that I'm working number one on Mac, um, and I'm also using two tools. I'm using the regular Mac mouse, but I'm also using Intuos Pro Medium from Wacom, which is a drawing tablet, and basically it gives me that middle click option that the Apple mouse does not have. So you can slide and scroll with a mouse from Apple, but it does not have a physical button that sometimes is used in Maya. Okay. So here we go. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna make new. Okay. This is what you're gonna get. You're gonna press the space bar, and it's gonna show you 4 viewports. It tells you this is the top, which is Y. That's your axis. The front, which is Z, right in front of you, front to back, and the side, which goes left and right, and then you have a perspective. This little box here, you can change it. I really don't recommend it because if you forget and start working on different items in a scene, I usually want to keep the top, the front the same way, and the side the same way. The only one I do move is my perspective to make sure that everything is following what I need. So what we're going to make to this view, I'm going to import an image. And now I download, I should have a teapot. Okay, the first thing you do, guys, is set up your reference image. So, luckily, let's see if it's true. This one landed directly in the middle of my crosshairs. That's what I call them. You can call it something else. You can call it something else if you want. Your centering lines, but there's this big thick line that comes straight down here, and one that crosses. This is the center of your scene. So what I am gonna do is, that one's fine there. I'm just gonna make it a bit bigger. Right, I want to work a little bit bigger, so about right there. So if this is the front, what you're gonna have to do is in the side view, press Command D, press the letter E, hold down J, and rotate it. What is up with this? So that the front of the teapot is at 90 degrees. If you look to my bottom left before I let go of the mouse, it says -90. That's where you want it. That means as a perfect angle. Okay. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna press W, and I'm gonna move this over. Actually, before I do that, I'm not gonna move that. Yeah, I'm gonna move this one forward here, and I want it right in the middle as much as possible. So what happens is, if you see the way I'm working, this should match up. See the bottom here? This should be here, so this is fine for me. I'm going to push this one off to the side because I don't want it in my way. This one I would use for a top reference, but I don't really need it because this is perfectly round and I should be okay. So I'm just going to push him back into space and leave it there. The next thing I want to do is, hold on, for some reason my Wacom tablet decided not to work. Let me load it back in. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to press spacebar on top of my side. I'm going to move in here. And if you notice, those thick lines, I put my teapot right in there so it can fit right in the middle, okay? So let's start doing this. The first thing you're going to do is called the blocking out process, okay? You start building the scene regular, and then we add details to it as we go along and finish up. So in this case, I would start with this here. Okay. Now with that there, I'm gonna take both of my references, shift click and drag to, so click, shift click, and I should be able to move them both up, and I want this to be right around here. Now that I'm done with moving these, you should come over to where it says Channel Box Layer Editor. Click on Layers, create layer from selected, and click once, twice, and let go. That means that these will not move. You will not be tempted to move them by mistake or adjust them. That's your reference, so they're not supposed to move. So now that we're here, I am gonna do a few things. I'm gonna press R. I'm gonna make this big enough to reach the top and the bottom here. I'm gonna click on shading, slide down to X-ray, and shading, wireframe unshaded. I want to be able to see those wireframes when I'm transforming these things, so that it makes it easier on my eyes, and I know that I have enough topology. So with this selected, I'm gonna add a few more subdivisions. At least make it a little bit smoother. Actually, let's make it 30. Around 30 is fine. Right? So this is what we're gonna do. Spacebar. Alt click and drag, or middle click and drag. It does this, or you can zoom in with the left click. Right? Actually, let me show you guys something before I forget. Since I am using my Wacom, I'm gonna show you guys my settings. So this, when I say middle click, is this part of my pen, and right click, okay? So middle click, right click. So let's get back to Maya. Before I do anything else, I want to Command S, which is the save option. I'm going to take it to my folder. In this case, I have my hard drives here already set up. If you do not have your hard drives, the easiest way to do is go to here, users, your name. Actually, I apologize. Let me see where this thing is at. Computer, I apologize. I haven't done this in so long. And it should show you your hard drives. But I'm not going to waste you guys' time with that because time is precious. So let's keep going. I'm going to go to my Extreme 4. I am going to go to my tutorial recordings. And I'm going to call this vintage Teapot. And I am going to just save it as. So now I'm gonna bring this down to about here. I'm gonna take my vertices. Actually, you know what? Let's make this bigger, and then bring it down. So I forgot to mention, if you hold down right click, you get your list of what you need to select. If you hold down shift and right click, you get a whole bunch of other tools. So be very careful. This is just right clicking. Vertex, which is these little dots. I'm gonna bring them right around here. Press R, actually modify center the pivot. Press R, make it bigger. Vertex, I'm gonna bring this one up. And I'm gonna bring this right in between this line here. I'm gonna right click, select face. So now I'm gonna select all of them. But watch what happens. So right now, if I show you over here, but if I shift, click, and drag, it takes away the ones that I don't need. And what I am gonna do is press shift, click, and drag. Shift, click, and drag right around here. Shift, click, and drag right around here. Shift, click, and drag. Shift, click, and drag right in the middle. Actually, you know what? Let's bring it up all the way to the top, and then I'll show you what to do later on. Press R, and we're going to scale this down. This is a simple blockout, okay? We'll worry about the edge in a minute. All we need is a blockout. So we have our first form, Command S. The next form you need is the top. Same thing, except when you click on this, right click, face, you're going to shift, right click, and duplicate that face and press Q. Now you have a separate piece. Actually, this stayed on faces. Let me right click to object mode. I'm gonna press Command E, W, bring it up. If you notice it's a tad too big, Let's just press R and shrink it down. Oops. Let's okay, let's go to object mode, modify, center pivot. We're gonna shrink it a bit. So if you're ever confused, if you don't know where to stop to find a width, if you look right here, you see that little white line? As I shrink, it shrinks with me. So I need it right around there. Command E, W. I'm gonna bring it up. Command E, W, bring it up. Command E, R. I'm gonna shrink this down just a bit for what I'm understanding looking at the image. Command E, W, R. Shrink that to about there. We'll fix that later on. Now, if you notice, this is a separate piece. So again, shift, right click, duplicate face, Q, right click, object mode, W, command E, W, bring it up here. It's too big, so let's shrink it down a bit. Object mode, press R just a little bit. Remember the white line I told you guys about? But you have to modify your pivot, center your pivot. It should be a little bit right there. Command E, W, bring it up. Command E, W, bring it up. R, scaling out. Command E, W, bring it up. And we're gonna leave that right there. So right now this is a simple block out, right? Everything looks blocky. There's nothing smoothed out yet, no details. Okay, so we're gonna do a few more pieces, and then we'll get to the good part. So we're gonna leave that there. We're gonna start working on this body, smoothing it out and adding details because this spouts out of there. Okay, that's the purpose of me making this long line here and this one here. So let's start with the body. Let's hide this. We don't need this right now. Select those, press H, and let's start working on this. So from here, you go to mesh tool, insert edge loop, and you're gonna click on the empty box. You're gonna reset this. Depending on your needs, you can reset it or leave it the same way. What happens is when you use insert edge loop, you might have 20 in here. And if you forget, you'll click on here and add 20 lines. You don't need them. But I'm gonna leave it like this because I do want that one only. So I'm gonna put one right here. I'm gonna press R and I'm gonna scale it. I'm gonna press W, bring it up just a bit. R, scale it down, and I'm gonna bevel that edge. Shift, right click, bevel edge. Whenever you bevel the edge, guys, depending on your computer, be very careful. This little blue circle is very important. This is the velocity that you want to see the reaction of what you're working on. For example, the bevel, right? I always put it at Pac-Man's mouth, but then if I hold Shift, I can add selection, Shift, click, and drag. It gives it to me a little bit slower instead of speeding through. What will happen is, if you do not turn that down and you don't have a decent computer system, your computer will crash. Maya will say, I can't do it, there's too many calculations. It's happened to me even with this computer, and this is the Mac Studio. So it can happen to anybody if you have a slower computer. So I'm going to move this up. I'm going to spread this one out. Again, in all my videos, you guys are going to mention the word, I mentioned the word perfectionist. It's just the way that I was raised, that if you don't do something right, you don't do it at all. Okay? But we're going to come here. Mesh tool. I'm going to insert an edge loop. I'm not going to reset it because I know I want it right in the middle. Q, double click, R, scale this out. Actually, you know what? Let's do something else. Well, I'm seeing this is a little bit different. Okay. I am going to keep the edge loop, but I'm going to press Q, right click, face. I am going to select these. I'm going to press Command E, Give it a little bit of thickness around there. And now I'm gonna double right click, edge, Q, double click, R. I'm gonna spread it out a little more. Now you guys see it makes more sense, okay? Once I'm there, shift right click, bevel edge, and I should add a few more. I think that's fine. Yep, that's good for me. So far, right click, object mode, this is what we have. Guys, do not worry about this right now. This will go away. It's just that as I'm adding smoothness to other areas, these areas lack smoothness, so that's why it's happening, okay? Don't panic, I got your back. So now that we have this, let's finish smoothing out, and then we'll add the details. So what I want is mesh tool, insert an edge loop. This time I double click here. I need to reset it because I'm placing my own line. I don't need it right in the middle. I need it right around there. Right click, vertex Q, and I'm gonna take all of these and press R and scale them down. Now right click, edge, that same edge, double click it, shift right click, bevel that edge, and now we have the smoothness we were looking for. And if you want, just to make sure that things are a little bit smoother, you can double click this edge, shift right click, bevel that edge, and you should be good to go. Okay, that's good to me. Command S. I always remember to press Command S every so often to make sure that if anything happens, the light goes out, anything happens, your work is saved, okay? Always save your work. So now we're gonna get to the interesting part. Here we have to extrude this big piece. It's part of the kettle, right? Of the teapot. So in between these two lines, I'm gonna fit a certain amount. Actually, you know what? Let me do something first. Face. I'm gonna delete these faces because I don't need the extra faces here. So I'm gonna click on one. Right? A simple click is gonna click one face. But I'm gonna come over here to the paint selection tool, and I'm just gonna paint slowly. Click and drag, alright? I'm just clicking and dragging. I'm gonna delete that right now. Actually, Command E, R, and I'm gonna delete that. Okay. Now I'm gonna come to the side. I'm gonna right click object mode, Q, mesh, smooth. Let's see what we get. Okay, so once we smooth it out, this is why I was saying you don't worry about that line. I made a mistake though. You guys will see it in a minute, but it doesn't look bad. That's fine. That doesn't look bad at all. I should have beveled those edges, but that's fine. It looks pretty good. Okay, let's leave it like that. Now you see, for me to make this piece here, I'm gonna need more edge loops. So this is where I mean mesh tool, insert edge loop. I want one here. I want one here. So this is another trick you're gonna learn with me today. Right click, edge, Q. If you double click on the edge, actually, you know what, that's fine. I'm just gonna show you anyway. If you shift right click, you can slide that edge. This is where you need your middle mouse button. See, middle mouse button, because you can move these now. But I don't want to move it. I'm just showing you that that's an option. I'm gonna insert maybe 3 here and 3 here. Insert edge loop. I'm gonna click on multiple, and I'm gonna change this to 3. It gives me 3 equal spacing lines. So 3 here and 3 here. The reason I'm doing this is because now I have to take these faces from here to about right here. Actually, I might have to grow to the sides. Let me see. Yeah, I might have to. Alright. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to shift click, shift double click, shift click, shift double click. Okay, I think that's enough for me for now. And here's a new cool trick that Maya allows you to do. So instead of moving these and making them perfect, let's see if we can get a circle out of this. Shift right click, circularize. So this does not look good, guys, if you notice, but there's options here. So if you change your alignment, that's better. Look at the difference. Okay, now that makes a lot of sense for me. Okay, if you shift click and drag this, you can fix your rotation, which is right there for me. I like it just the way it is there. And here we're gonna press Command E, W, and we're gonna start forming this out. Here, guys, you have to squish this part. So press R and squish it and make it smaller. Now bring it back. Here, this is where the work is gonna start to look nice. Because you can take this, you can press E, rotate it a little bit. R, shrink it down a bit. Command EW. Press E, rotate it a bit. Pardon me, guys. Just rotate that a bit. Command EW. E, R, W. You're gonna hear me say the same letters over and over and over. That's because in every 3D program, these letters are used the majority of the times. Let me fix this real quick. I'm unhappy with this. I need to make it probably a bit bigger. Should I rotate it? Let's see. We'll bevel that later. That's fine. Right click face. If you notice, every time if you do this properly, when I press face, it took me to the face that I need, guys. I don't have to keep selecting, deselecting. So let's try this. Command EW. We're gonna bring this up to about here. R, shrink it. W, bring it here. I'm gonna press E, see if I can get away with this. Yeah, I believe so. Let's try this out. Command EW. R. Command EW. R. E. R again. Command EW. And I should stop right around. Actually, you know what? This one's wrong. Let me just take this one here. It has to be smaller for what I'm seeing, so hold on. Here we go. And finally Command EW, and you're gonna bring this to about right here. E at an angle. W. And we're gonna leave it right around here for now. So if I press 3, just to see how it looks smoothed out, that's pretty good. I can't complain. I do have an issue here, but it's minor. What I am gonna do though, I'm gonna bevel this edge. So I'm gonna right click edge, double click, shift right click, and I'm gonna bevel that edge and add one segment, and there I get that nice little curve. Okay, same thing here. Shift right click, bevel edge. I'm gonna add one there. I think I need one here. No, that's just gonna make it worse. So let me press R and shrink it a bit. Maybe I'll smooth it out a little more. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so right now this is what we have. We do have to do one more thing. I know it looks like that. Remember I explained this earlier. I'm gonna take these edges and I'm gonna bevel them. So double click, shift double click, shift double click, and shift double click, shift right click, bevel edge. I'm gonna give it a bit of a fraction because I want it to be smooth. Should I add one more? Yep. So now, I shouldn't do it, but if I press 3, that's a good looking teapot base, okay guys? So 1, space bar, okay, here is fine, here is fine. So from here, if we look at the top version, this piece comes out separately. So we really don't have to worry about that right now. So let's right click face. Again, instead of clicking one by one, just click one box. Go to your paint selection. If it's too big, like in this case, I know it's gonna select more than what I want. Hold down the letter B. Left click and drag, and it should shrink. And let go of the letter B and start painting those little squares, okay? You have to be very careful with this tool because even though it is precise on an angle, sometimes if you're off angle, it can select something you don't want, okay? Command E, R, and I'm gonna delete that for now. Right click, edge, double click, shift right click, bevel edge, and just add a few lines in here. In object mode. So if I press mesh display, soften edge, here we go. This is what you have. I would probably add more smoothness to this, but let me see how it works. Okay, I mean that's fine. Okay, I'm happy with that. I will not complain about something like this at all. It looks pretty good. It's high quality. High topology. I always work high topology, guys, because the future now, especially with Unreal Engine going with nanites, you no longer have to try and reduce the mesh into small polygons or triangles, because they're allowing nanites, which is millions and millions of polygons in the scene. So this will be like basically a mosquito bite in one of the scenes. So okay, so we're done with this. Spacebar, zoom out. Let's go to the lid. If you're ever lost because you don't see the lid, right, all we see is this. You see this plus sign? If you click on it, there's more stuff in here. What you can do is click on the cylinder, edit, ungroup, click, press G, it'll ungroup again. Now select this, edit, delete all by type history, edit, non-deformer, freeze, center. What happens is it takes care of all the nonsense that was here, of all the work that I did. It cleans it up. Normally every single step that I do shows up here, so we just want to be able to see this cleanly for the next person that's going to take your model and work on it. Okay, so now let's work on the lid. So I'm going to press H, click on the under, so it's gray, click on and press H. Okay, now here we have some stuff to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is press face. I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to press Command E. I'm going to offset it just to give it a little bit of thickness. Right click, object mode, mesh tool, insert edge loop. This is where we're going to reset this because it has 3. All I need is 1. And I'm going to insert 1 and press the letter R, and I'm going to scale this. Okay, let's look at this from another angle. That's fine. Okay, that's fine actually. Okay, so that's there. Let's finish this top first and then we'll bevel the rest out. Mesh tool, insert an edge loop. I do want one right in the middle. R, scale it out. I'm gonna insert one more here. Now press R. Actually, I press W, bring it up a little bit. And let me bevel that edge, see what happens. shift right click. I'm going to slide this edge down, guys. So with middle mouse button I can move that edge down. It gives me that extra movement that I need. Okay, so now with this one, shift double click, we're going to spread these out more, pressing the letter R. Double click this one, press the letter R. I want that curve to be as perfect as possible. Press W, bring it up, and now R it down. And I'm gonna try to see if I can bevel. Let me see. Hold on. Bevel that edge. See if I get what I need. Bevel edge. I guess so. I guess that's fine. So our object mode. There's a few steps I have left. So here, this edge that I left open, I do want to bring this edge. Double click it. Bring it into the pot, but then this one, Command E R, and I want this to shrink to the middle, right around there. The reason being, you don't want your pot to have like an empty hole like I just had. You want it to be as close as possible, like if the lid was actually on. We're gonna bevel some edges here. If you press Command 1, be careful, you can just isolate on one object. We press Q, face, click only on one face here, paint the rest like I've mentioned earlier. Carefully just turn your camera and just paint, clicking and dragging. Okay, if that doesn't happen, Alt middle mouse down, Alt, and then you can just turn your camera and start painting these. Okay, I don't understand why this is being so. Maybe the brush size. Hold down B, click and drag. Maybe it's that. Yep, the brush size. I press Command E R. I'm gonna delete that. Q, right click edge, double click here, shift double click, shift double click, shift right click, and bevel this edge. Now here, if I press 3, it should be fine. Yep. So now here, one needs to bevel this one out. And look at my shape. I'm not happy with that result. Hold on. Okay, so I'm gonna have to R it down a little bit. I don't think that's a good idea, is it? Yeah, no, let's leave that the way it is. Let's just shrink the top. There we go, that's what I need right there. Okay, right click object mode, and if we press mesh smooth, right click object mode, we have our lid. Press Command 1 and you'll see everything together. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Click here, press H. Now here's gonna be very simple. You're just gonna right click edge, double click, shift right click bevel edge, add some segments in there, spread them out, double click here, shift right click bevel edge, add some segments here, shrink it a bit. So in this case, I feel that these should be smaller. So let's press R and shrink these down. Okay, so sometimes along the way things will happen where you feel you have to adjust. If you feel you must do it, just do it, okay? So what I just did, if you don't notice, if I'm far away, if I press F, it takes me to what I've got selected, okay? Shift right click, bevel that edge. 1, 2, shrink it a bit. Okay, one more down here. Double click, shift right click, bevel edge. Give it just 1 here and shrink it down. And so far we're good, okay? So on this one, I'm gonna stop the tutorial here. I will continue the tutorial for the accessory, which is gonna be adding these hinges from the actual body and then connecting the actual handle. Okay, guys. Thank you for tuning in for part one of my vintage teapot. As always, I am the rum soaked pirate, and drink up me hearty yo ho. Take care, guys. Don't forget to command S.